With the hotly anticipated 450cc Himalayan coming out from Royal Enfield in the coming months, it's got a lot of people asking, are they going to chop the 411 from the lineup? And if they do, is that really a smart move and what the consumer wants? Let's find out. Predictably, Royal Enfield themselves have been pretty tight-lipped about what their plans are for the 411, saying absolutely nothing on the topic. Now, quite a few media outlets in late 2022 were reporting that, of course, with the 450 coming, the 411 was going to be discontinued. They didn't have any hard evidence to cite that. They were just stating that that was the obvious path that Royal Enfield were going to take. But I disagree. I don't think it's that simple. I think there's a lot more nuance to what could happen. There's even a scenario where the 411 sticks around or even gets updated. So let's try and unravel and unpack this mess. Is the 411 going to get cancelled, or will it survive, or maybe even get the updates that we've all been hoping for? I think the easiest and most obvious justification, of course, is the 450 itself. It's liquid cooled, it's more modern, apparently more off-road capable, makes 40 horsepower and 40 odd newton meters of torque purportedly. We haven't got official figures yet. On paper, this is a far superior motorcycle in an awful lot of ways. But just because this bike is coming out doesn't necessarily mean that's how Royal Enfield view it. It really depends on internally how they see the 450 and the 411. If they do indeed look at the 450 as an iteration on the Himalayan, then of course the Himalayan 411 will most likely get cancelled. But if they see this as a standalone model that is superior and offers a different type of riding experience to what the 411 does, then there's clear market separation and they're servicing different buyers. But on top of that, if they look at it as a separate model, it doesn't guarantee that the 411 will stick around either, because they might look at the 411 and think, that is a little bit too close to what the 450 offers, and we don't want that competition. We want the 450 to really have as much sales as possible, so they might cancel the 411 for that reason as well. The second compounding reason why the 411 might get axed is actually the success of a bike based purely off the 411 Himalayan, and that's the Scram 411. Now, why would a scrambler threaten the Himalayan? Well, it's basically the same motorcycle with some aesthetic differences and some minor tweaks. And it's lighter, cheaper, has a lower seat height, arguably is better looking, and is almost as capable off-road. So that's a pretty appealing package. Royal Enfield might be thinking to themselves, you know what, we don't really need the Himalayan when the Scram is more popular and offers almost as much as the Himalayan does. Plus, we've got this 450 coming to service those that really want to go off-road in a proper way. So that could be another motivation for why the 411 could be discontinued. The third reason is that the Himalayan represented a transition for Royal Enfield from pumping out questionably reliable motorcycles to its meteoric rise, pumping out great value machines, specifically those 650 twins. And one of the bikes that really was a bridge to that new position in the market for them was the Himalayan. So Royal Enfield might be looking back at the Himalayan as one of the old guard motorcycles, getting a bit long in the tooth, representing a side of Royal Enfield that they no longer want to identify with, and they want to move forward up to the new manufacturing standards that they've been able to manage. But as I alluded to in my intro, I'm not really certain that's what all consumers want, because one of the fantastic things about the 411 Himalayan is that it's so approachable and affordable, has a low center of gravity and a low seat height. So for beginner riders, returning riders, or riders wanting a very approachable and affordable motorcycle, the Himalayan is a fantastic option. So I think there is a space on the market for a bike like this. Let's go through the scenarios where I think the 411 could continue. Just as I cited the Scram 411 as a reason why Royal Enfield could can the Himalayan, it's also the reason that the Himalayan might stick around, because the Scram basically is a Himalayan, as I stated, with a few different tweaks. They've already got the manufacturing set up for it and all the parts there anyway, because they have to make the Scram 411. And they're certainly not cancelling that anytime soon, considering that they only released that bike in 2022. So why would you stop selling it if the Himalayan is reasonably popular, you've got all the parts there, you're already manufacturing a bike that's basically the same thing? That really does lead credence to the theory that the 411 really could stay on the showroom floor. And reason two why it could still stick around is what makes this bike so fantastic. It's affordability, its approachability, as I said, that low seat height, and also its classic looks. It looks quite different from a lot of adventure bikes. It really does have that retro vibe, which a lot of people do like. And I think this bike is very endearing to beginner and returning riders in particular. Given the basic specs and the spy shots we've got of the 450, the 411 Himalayan is going to offer a very different experience to what the 450 is. Still going to be the better bike for the beginner and returning rider, and those that maybe just want more of a retro adventure bike to go down the back roads at a leisurely pace. I think there's enough market separation there to justify the continuation of the 411 standing alongside the 450. Now, where the 411 and the 450 staying on the showroom floor does fall apart is to the average punter that really doesn't pay attention to the market. So if you're walking to a Royal Enfield, you don't know too much about them, and you're looking for a small displacement adventure bike, and you see a 411cc Himalayan and a 450cc Himalayan, you might get very confused as to why both exist. So here is my suggestion. I've got no confirmation of this, so please don't hold me to it. One possibility is that when the 450 comes out, they do cancel the 411. But what they do is, in the background, they update the 411 with their new 350cc single motor, like the classic 350 and the Meteor 350. And the great thing about this motor is that it makes roughly the same performance as the 411's motor does. So you've got a chance to improve on an already popular bike. You've also got the chance to really separate it in the market. So when the average punter walks in, they say, oh, there's a 350 and a 450. That makes a lot more sense to the average buyer. There's a clear distinction between both motorcycles. You're keeping the entry-level rider and the returning rider happy with the 350, whilst also offering the more experienced rider the bigger 450. But I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen? Are Royal Enfield just going to release the 450 and that's going to be it? That's all we're going to get in the adventure bike lineup? Are they going to keep the 411 around, or will they replace the 411 with a 350? Chuck your thoughts down below, as I'd love to know your opinion. And as always, don't forget to stay shiny side up, and I'll see you in the next one.